Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Last time, we were joined by Miharu the Fox in the Mosquito Marsh. And in this episode, I'll be going solo, as we are about to enter what is my favorite dimension in the entire game. And that is why I'm going solo, because I want to talk about my experience with the Crash series and these levels in particular.
Crash Bandicoot, you banished me to the past, but all it did was give me more time to plan your doom. You'll find me up the mountain. Don't freeze on the way.
Well, you know, I'm sensing a real fraught history here. How many times have you beaten this clown anyway?
3.
Really? Only 3? Funny. Seemed like more.
That joke always makes me laugh. So, this is the 11th dimension, an entirely snow-based world. Little known fact about me, I actually really love snow levels. I understand the consensus that snow and water levels get a bad rep, but while I don't like water levels too terribly much, I love me a good snow level, and this world delivers some of the best platforming in the entire game, in my opinion. And of course, it's one of the best. These were some of the first levels they showed off in the game. Specifically this level and a counterpart in the form of the alternate timeline level. Out of all 3, this one is probably my least favorite, but it's still a fantastic level. So, we get to show off the new mask that we picked up in the last episode. This is Kapunawa. She is the time-stopping mask, and she lets you slow down time for about 6 seconds. There's basically no cooldown to her though, so you can stop time and then immediately start time again. It's pretty lenient. She's pretty situational, but you could also argue that all the masks are situational. But out of all of them, while her personality is definitely one of my favorites, her ability, I don't want to say it's my absolute least favorite, but it's definitely not as interesting as Lani Loli or Akano for me. Then again, nothing can beat Akano. I love me a good spin and love abilities that enhance your jumping, and he's just really good. Anyways, so I suppose this is the part where I share my experience with Crash Bandicoot, huh? Because I've had nothing but time to give all my guests their time to shine, tell me all their experiences, and I've been trying my best not to talk too much about how I feel about the series because I personally wanted to save it for this episode. So, where do I stand with Crash Bandicoot? Well, my first Crash Bandicoot game was Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back on the PlayStation 1. I played it around roughly, I want to say it was like 2001, because the PlayStation 2 was out at that point. And I distinctly remember that a friend of my dad's actually gave us his PS2 because he just didn't like it that much. And he actually had a copy of Crash Bandicoot 2 for the PlayStation 1. And he gave it to me because he knew the types of games that I liked. I grew up with Spyro. I loved Spyro so much, and Crash and Spyro are like brothers in terms of their development history, and honestly just the series in general have a lot of similarities. So my first experience was playing Crash 2, and of course I didn't play it until 2001, so it had already been out for 4 years at that point, but Crash had been established for 5 years. At that point in time, the most recent game was Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, and I didn't know anything about that game yet. So I played Crash 2, and I loved it. It was really hard because I was a kid, and, you know, Crash isn't exactly the most easy game for a kid. It's easy to understand, but it's difficult to master. So Crash 2 took me some time to beat, but after I beat it, I fell in love with it. And so I wanted to experience the rest of the series. So picked up Crash Bandicoot 1, Crash 3 Warped, CTR, Crash Bash, and then finally started getting myself on track by playing the games as they came out, starting with Wrath of Cortex and then moving onwards with all the other games like The Huge Adventure on the Game Boy Advance. So for me, my personal favorite games in the series were and still are, Crash 2. I'm just being biased. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I mean, after all these years, I still think Crash 2, out of the original Naughty Dog trilogy, is just the best one. It's fun and diverse without going overboard like Warped did. I said it in my playthrough of Warped, and I still stand by it. I do think Warped is the worst of the original trilogy. I still enjoy Warped a lot, but it's still my least favorite. I have such a huge soft spot for the original Crash Bandicoot. Even more so as an adult. As a kid, it was super hard, and it was really annoying for me that it was a game that didn't have an analog stick support, so I didn't like it as much because it felt awkward to control, and it was unfairly difficult, and the save system wasn't very intuitive. Yeah, I don't care that much anymore. It took Insane Trilogy for me to really appreciate Crash 1. And I still think that for newcomers, if you're going to experience Crash 1, just play Insane Trilogy. Save yourself the hassle. But I really got to be honest here. The original version is better, in my opinion. This is, like, probably going to turn some heads here, but my opinion has shifted significantly since I played Insane Trilogy. When I played Insane Trilogy, I told everybody that they should play Crash 1 only on the Insane Trilogy, not play the original version. Crash 2, you could play either version and be happy, and that you should probably play Warped on Insane Trilogy. Honestly, I'd rather just recommend all three of the originals. I just don't think they can be topped. They're better enjoyed the older I get. But if you're trying to become a new Crash fan, I think you should absolutely just play Insane Trilogy. And if you really enjoyed it, then you should go back to the originals. Also, we're approaching the end of the first level, and we're actually about to enter my favorite level in Dimension. But on our way, I'm going to continue to talk about my experience with the series. So, I've been a large Crash fan ever since I first discovered my love for it. Overall, as a series, I prefer Crash to Spyro. Even though I grew up with Spyro and love Spyro, Crash just had a better history, in my opinion. Now, when we're coming to the original trilogy, Spyro wins. There's no contest for me. I like Spyro more in terms of his original trilogy, especially the reignited versions, which, unlike the Insane Trilogy, I would replace the originals with reignited versions. Hands down, no questions asked. There might be a couple of flaws in reignited, but overall, I think they're better than the originals. But yeah, this is my favorite level. This one reminds me a lot of Crash 2, and that's why I love it so much. It helps that there are actually remixes of songs from Crash 2. The Snow Go theme from Crash 2 is remixed in here, as well as Cortex's theme, which plays over time as you make your way through the deeper portions of the level. It's just a really well-designed level. It's just core platforming. It's just a lot of fun. But anyways, back to my series with Crash. My series history with Crash. I can talk, I swear. I just get tongue-tied when I'm talking by myself and not having a guest here to, you know, balance me out. Anyways. So, favorite games in the series, Crash 2, absolutely, is my favorite platforming Crash game. No questions asked. It holds up so well. My favorite game in the entire series is actually the 2019 remake of Crash Team Racing Nitro Field by Beanox. I love that game so much. I spent almost an entire year playing every single Grand Prix that was shown in that game, getting every last bit of content on both the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch versions, and I played it with my fiance and all my friends, and it was just a blast, and I want more games like that. It was such a fantastic celebration of the entire franchise. I love it. It's such a great game, and the controls are so tight, and, you know, racing games are fun, but I don't love them, but that is, hands down, one of the greatest games ever made, and definitely my favorite kart racer. I mean, I already love the original CTR. Oh yeah, listen to this music. gosh, I love that song so much. Anyways, CTR Nitro Fueled, absolutely amazing. Love the original CTR. Nitro Fueled was the game perfected. Sure, it had the insane trilogy art style, which I'm not as big of a fan of as I was originally, but I think that Beanox did a better job representing it, and the characters that they made in that art style were so good. Emperor Velo and Nina, oh my goodness, they looked fantastic. And don't ask me how I didn't die there. I was trying to do a slide jump, and somehow it triggered a body slam instead, but I saved it. It's cool. It's good. Everything's fine. I'm okay. Cortex on the monitors back there. Hey, buddy. How you doing? But other favorite games in the series include Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced on the Game Boy Advance. Honestly, that game is super underrated. I love Entranced so much. Honestly, the Game Boy Advance Crash games in general are fantastic. Huge Adventure, Entranced. I even really like the Game Boy Advance version of Nitro Kart. In some aspects, I love it more than the console version. Crash Purple, I liked it a lot when I was little, and it's harmless. I don't hate it as much as other people, but it's definitely not that great after that. And, you know, I remember the GBA version of Crash of the Titans being pretty good, but it's probably not as good as I remember, and to be fair, I haven't played it in a long time, so hard to say if it's actually a good game. Hard to say if it's actually good. But other than that, if I had to give some more favorites out here, one that is a controversial take, one of my favorite games in the series is Crash of the Titans. I don't care what anyone says, I love that game. I was so excited for that game. I watched the trailers so much as a kid, played the amazing Flash website where you could like create your own characters and just run around with other online players and play random mini games and just browse the sites. I loved the Crash Bandicoot websites as a kid. They were so entertaining. And Crash of the Titans is just such an awesome beat 'em up. It's pretty bare bones compared to something that's more complex, like say Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Fantastic game. Finally got its well-deserved re-release and in physical form. Better believe I pre-ordered that beauty. Or like the Double Dragon series. But, you know, I still really enjoy it, and I think it's honestly, before this game came out, I thought it was the best post-Naughty Dog Crash game. And of course, I'm not counting the fact that CTR Nitro Fueled was made by Beanox, which is not Naughty Dog, but it's based off of Naughty Dog's work, and some original work, but it's still based off of a Naughty Dog work, so, you know, it's one of those gray areas. But yes, I love Titans. I think it's a really solid game, and I did replay it last year because I did marathon the entire Crash series for my fiance, a newly found Crash fan, who became a fan, who played some of the games growing up, but primarily became a fan thanks to me. So we marathoned the entire series in preparation for Crash 4, and she loved Titans, which made me very happy. And she's seen them all, so, you know, it's gotta qualify for something. But yeah, I mean, those are my favorite games in the series. They're solid. I love them. They're just amazing. Least favorites? There's no question asked here. Crash Boom Bang is the worst game in the entire series. Don't even come at me. There is no room for debate here. Other than that, I don't really hate any other game in the series. That's really the only one I don't like. I used to not like Nitro Kart that much when I was little, but I grew to like it a little bit more. It's not as good as CTR, obviously, but Nitro Fueled made the Nitro Kart content fantastic, so there's that. But let's talk about these levels. This bears repeating. This level, I hated it when I first played it, only because there was a particular buddy that you ride on whose hitbox wasn't wide enough to hit stacks of crates that were lined up in stacks of 4. And it made playing this level to get an insanely perfect relic really difficult. But ever since the PlayStation 5 came out, or PlayStation 5 version came out, they have since patched it to fix it, and now this is definitely a highlight level for me. I prefer it to the first level, but I still say the second one is the better one. do like this level a lot, though, as it incorporates elements of Crash 1 and 2, which we will come up on the Crash 1 elements here in just a minute. But back to other things in the series that I appreciate and love. My favorite characters in the series are mostly villains, actually. Dingodile, Dr. Cortex, Nina Cortex, and Brio. I love them all. I seriously just love the bad guys because they're just brimming with personality, and they're all just so great. And I love Engine too, especially his Titans representation. I don't care what anyone says, I loved Nolan North's Engine, and I'm so upset that he still isn't the one voicing Engine. Corey Burton's doing a good job though, especially in this game. Speaking of Crash 1 references, oh look, it's Road to Nowhere and the High Road. And I just gave Insane Trilogy players flashbacks. Nah, it's really not that hard. It was a lot easier. They're going to give you Kapunawa on the final stretch because all the boards you jump on are the ones that break, but like, I don't even need to use her because it's just so easy. Yeah, see, that's it's nothing. It's really not that hard. But, yeah, favorite characters, favorite games. Been playing Crash on the Run, the mobile game that came out not too long ago. Been playing it since its alpha leaked, and then its beta, and now playing the final game, and you know, I like it. I'm taking a break from it right now because I'm getting kind of burned out with it, and it's kind of grindy, as most mobile games are, without you sinking real money into, and I try to avoid doing that as much as I can. I've spent a couple dollars here and there on some skin sets and stuff, but that's about it. It's a pretty good game. I like it. It's got a lot of fan service in it, which, you know, I appreciate the fan service in Crash games because it feels like these games have been celebrating this entire series, which makes me really happy because they go niche, which is very nice. I can't thank CTR Nitrofield enough for bringing characters like Rillaru back, Yaya Panda from the mobile racing games from the 2010 era, Megamix from the Huge Adventure of the GBA. Like, stuff like that is just amazing. And Crash on the Run brought back a character called Mr. Crumb, which was from a Crash Bandicoot 99X LCD screen game from, I think, 1997? I think it came out around the time Crash 2 came out. So it's like, I love this stuff. I genuinely love this stuff. I just love this series. It's so great. And it's like, you know, everybody has that series that they hold very near and dear to them. And while Crash is not my favorite series in the entire video game industry, it's in my top 5, and I just love Crash so much. And I owe Crash a lot. Like, I mean, I really do. Crash helped to make my last decade of gaming so much more amazing, and I'm just so glad he's back. And speaking of back, here he is. It's Polar! So yeah, see that stack of crates right there? Yeah, see how I hit that effortlessly? Yeah, that would not have been the case if I was playing it before they patched it. This level was a nightmare to get the perfect relic on, but I did do it before it got patched. And obviously, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm not getting it here. I did miss a couple of crates, so I'm going to jump cut a couple of deaths out. But I will say, this one is a lot better than it was originally. And we're chasing Dr. Cortex down this mountain slope while he shoots down some trees. He's got to jump over them, watch out for the icicles he knocks down too. It's pretty straightforward. I'd recommend controlling Polar with the D-pad as opposed to the analog stick.
How about that?
It's a lot more bearable. Pun entirely unintended, but still. Flashback tape is right up here, very late into the level. Don't do a speed boost and then jump. Just jump normally and you'll be good to go. We are approaching the near end as we get closer to Cortex's blimp and wrapping up the last level of this world. Really fantastic world. Honestly love it so much. Hands down my favorite dimension in the game overall. Gonna jump over these nitros here so I can hit these crates. Boom, boom, did it! Wonderful level, wonderful level. Oh, I did get the insanely perfect relic. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the alternate timeline level to this place because, yep, there's an alternate timeline level to it, which you can believe was also a pain in the butt to get that insanely perfect relic on. Anyways, it's boss fight time with the boss himself.
Crash Bandicoot! It's about time! This is going to be just like the old days. Except this time, everything will go according to my plan! I've made a few upgrades to my blimp!
Good old Dr. Cortex, the big bad himself, is our third boss of this game. And to be honest, this is probably the hardest boss in the game. So you have Capunawa, so you can slow down all of these crazy attacks. I try not to rely on her too much because I feel like it handicaps the boss a little too much. But she can be very helpful, so your goal is to just simply spin this punching bot right back at Cortex after it gets dizzy. Dodge all of his different attacks. It kind of reminds me of Engine's boss, mostly because of these attacks right here. Similar to Engine's Rocket Head fight, he will shoot floor lasers at you that you must jump over. He'll also send these purple tornadoes, that's totally not blue, that you can just slow down time and run past. It's a lot easier that way. He's going to start incorporating them all. Punchbot comes back out, you just spin into him again.
Stop! Alright, have it your way!
So now he's going to start incorporating them all shooting at the same time, while also bringing in the missiles. This is the part where you want to start busting out Capunawa because she really will make some of this a little easier, because it can get a bit frantic, especially with all the things coming at you at once.
That Bandicoot, Punchbot! Well, if you won't play fair, then neither I. Oops! Did I do that?
So now Cortex has taken away part of the flooring.
Kill the Bandicoot! Crush the Bandicoot! Smash in his head!
You alright there, Lex? You kind of sound like you went through a second puberty on that take. So, final phase here. Cortex is going to bring out all the stops. Green platforms, purple tornadoes, taking away the floor, shooting missiles. It's pretty frantic and definitely the hardest part, but now he's bringing in the red attacks that you must now slide under. Watch out for Punchbot and spin him in, and that's Dr. Cortex.
Not again! Blasted Bandicoots! Must we keep going around and around like this? Tell me, Crash, is this all there is? Forever? No.
I knew you would be unable to handle this simplest of tasks.
Gloat all you want. I quit. If you need me, I'll be on a tropical island somewhere. Alone.
How fortunate. You see, I no longer have needs for our alliance. I found a new partner and a new plan.
You were scheming behind my back?
Of course. The Rift Generator has capabilities beyond your eager imagination. You were content to simply rule over space and time, but I'd rather start from scratch. Erase it all. Wipe the slate clean. I'm going to reset the timeline and rebuild it to my liking. I will become a god, which means you won't exist. And neither will those feather-brained masks or those meddling marsupials.
Wiped from existence by that pompous peacock? I'd like to see him try after I shove that tuning fork up his...
But not if we get to him first.
It appears we have a common enemy. Perhaps there's a way out of our endless cycle after all. Huh? Okay.
Oh, looks like we'll be teaming up with Dr. Cortex again. First time since Crash Twin Sandy are we working with the bad doctor himself to take down a common enemy in the form of Dr. Entropy. Wonder what this new plan is and this new partner he's talking about. It'll be a couple more episodes before we find out about that one. But next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be heading to our next stop where we might get to see some Dr. Cortex gameplay in action, and I'll be bringing back with me another guest. I'll see you guys then. Take care.